and start recording. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Come on into the SHAC. Is the sound working? Paul, could you just give me the heads up and I'll just turn my phone to silent, as one does. Hey? Cool. What would we do without these? Can anybody explain what we used to do? It seemed to work though, didn't it, back in the day without a mobile phone? It's funny that. Hey? Yeah, you gotta wonder, haven't you? So, is the sound on? Because I just fiddled with the cameras. It was miles away. I seem to be getting further and further away. Come on in, early to the party. We're doodling and colouring today. I've done my prep. Anybody there? Good morning, Hilda. Good to have your company. What's the weather like in Scotland, Hilda? It's not very nice here. It's very overcast and very cold. The cats are so funny. They, on the weekend when it was nice and warm, they were out exploring, you know, all over the garden, up the tree, down the tree, up the ginkgo tree, down the ginkgo tree, everywhere, right? Yesterday, the temperature turned. They went out of the back door. They took a turn of the wheelbarrow and straight back in again. 3 times they did it. They didn't want to know. It was so cold. Isn't that funny? Honestly, I haven't had time to make any notes today, so I'm winging it. Look, it's our 182, according to my not notes, 182 hours, my friends. And Paul is in the building with you. Oh, and I'm working with pencils today. We're going to be working with our pergoliner pencils, the aqua pencils, and I'm using the brushes and the Poppets. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Are we nearly all here? Are we all here? And then we can get started, eh? Well, I don't know why I'm worried about my notebook. Sometimes I put little prompts, you know, to remind myself what to say and what to remember to say. And today I haven't got any notes. So I don't know why I'm worried about the notebook. Right. I'm looking forward to this. Watercolor. It's nice. It's nice. Come on in. Good morning, Jennifer. Good, good. Lots of friends here. Yeah, it's not the sort of weather you want to go out in, is it? I've got my jab today, this evening at 8 o'clock, 10 to 8, Sevenoaks. What about you? It seems to be rolling forward, doesn't it? But it doesn't mean that we can all go out and party and start kissing and hugging again, does it? It's funny how it's so obvious, isn't it, to us? And therefore, the SHAC is the place to be. Welcome to the SHAC. Safe, happy and creative. Stay home and craft. Correct. That's what we're doing. And we're doing some colouring, then we're doing some doodling. I've been thinking ahead to next week. I'm really looking forward to that. I've got some really... The thing is that what we're doing this week is kind of learning some new tricks that will be really handy next week. So, not that this is a lesson per se. You know, when we hang out in the SHAC, if you remember why we do this, it's to hang out together, isn't it? Do you remember with the pandemic, we said we just needed to know that we're not alone, we're all in the same boat. And so we just hung out and doodled together, and we've been doing it for 182 hours. I know. But the thing is, I was getting all anxious this week, and I thought, oh no, I don't need anxious. I'm the same as you. You know, the SHAC has to do for me what it does for you. I'm happy to be the driver. I'm happy to be the bus driver. But when I'm starting to feel pressured because I think I'm running out of ideas and they won't like what I'm doing and la, I think, hang on a minute. You know, take the foot off the pedal there, Barbara, because we're here to keep each other company, aren't we? You know? And you know, it doesn't matter what we do. If you doodle for an hour 3 times a week, your doodling's going to get better, and it is going to be called illustration in a minute. you know. So for me, I just wanted to say this isn't a masterclass. This is just us hanging out together, and the main reason that we are here is to keep each other company. And then if we learn anything as we're going along, so much the better. So today we were starting to use, do you remember the whimsy poppets? Let's have a look. We've got props, haven't we? And our props for doodling are postcards. We've got the birdie postcards, and then we've got the beautiful illustrations from Marina Fedotova. And the ones that we went to this week were the little fairy ones. They're just so darling, you know. And if you're new to the party, what you'll find is in each postcard set there are 6 designs, but 2 of each, and one is large and one is small. And the idea that behind this was so that we could colour in, learn our colouring skills here, and then go to doodling here. Now, what we did the first time, if you recall, we used our polychromos or our pergoliners, and we coloured in one of the flower poppets. And then this is what I'm talking about when I talk about doodling in a background. This is the kind of thing. The first time, do you remember at Christmas we did that lovely piece in the background of one of the Christmas ones? That was really pretty, wasn't it? And then a couple of weeks ago we did this one, and then we doodled in a landscape, and it looks just like Marina Fedotova's artwork, just scratchy, sketchy. It's quite a skill I'm finding, drawing and colouring kind of sketchily, you know. I'm good at detail, at perfection, you know, like, but having that lovely arty flourish, that actually comes with confidence, doesn't it? And if you lack confidence, as do I, then I find it's quite I don't know, I bet you know exactly what I mean. You think, cool, scribble? Really? I'm much better at doing a perfect circle than a scribble circle, because one is, in my head, I'm programmed to think correct, incorrect. You know, it's mad, isn't it? And yet, it's that sketchiness that attracts us. It's that lovely random art and that lovely wispy kind of penmanship that we like so much, isn't it? Funny, isn't it? So that's what we did the first time round. And then on Monday, what we did, we went to, let me just get these out of the way. These are great, you know, they're great for birthday cards, you know, like for toppers. If you colour this in and then you put a little doodle around the edge, because we know how to make little frames and that, and you can stamp things into the background. Today we're going to learn how to do a really lovely arty background, and then you could just mount them on a card blank, you know, put a black edge around it and la-di-da, and then you've got yourself a beautiful original your art card for a friend, or for a grandchild, or for, I mean, these are such pretty art. And the good news is that Marina Fedotova gave us permission, you know, in small quantities, not industrial, right? But we're allowed to make, also to sell, you know, in small quantities, we're also allowed to sell our art. Well, that's great, you know. Hats off to Marina Fedotova. We bought it under license, we got permission. No, that's worth knowing. That's very important when you buy somebody's artwork. You know, I mean, we're an angel company. We are, Clarity. But this is the first time that we've actually licensed somebody else's artwork. So it's very important. See, when you use our illustrations and our artwork, our artists and the girls that work and me, we're happy if you can make some money with your investments. When we buy in somebody else's artwork, we have to ask permission. And we did, and we got permission. So there we are. That's where we're at, okay? Good to know. Now, so what we did on Monday, we took this little whimsy poppet and we coloured her in with watercolour, didn't we? There she is. And then while we were doing that, I said, let's learn how to do some random, remember, we were doing some circles like this, weren't we? And the way we did that was, some of us were doing it freehand, And then I said, you know what, I figured out it was a lot easier if I used a stencil as a template. So these are pretty cool stencils. And I think I've just seen Paul's loaded up the link for you, because there's different ones. So what we're going to use today is the circles and the hearts. The stripes are excellent. They're really good if you like texture paste. So is that one. These are the texture paste ones here. Anyway, we're going to use these two. They're really good. And I think we put a really keen price on those as well. So we're going to use those and put them to one side. I just want to get the heart one, make sure. Let me get the heart out. Let me get my heart out. Right. Okay, so that's those. That's a nice one, you know, for a background. So that's what we're going to do. And then this is all prep for Friday and next week. This is all prep for the next exercise, if you like, the next stretching exercise. So let's have a look. Right, calm it, Kermit. So this is what we did. We took our watercolor pencils, the A pencils in the percoliner box, which is, they're perfect, because we're always at the B end, aren't we? So this time we're going to stay up the A end. Sounds like a football match. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a background to it. So let's have a look. This is what we did, and we're going to go back over the colouring. But what I want to do next is this one, so you can see just how pretty that is. Okay, and it's very, very simple. You know, like we took the circles, didn't we? And we penciled some circles onto a, look, I went for it. See, now let me see, it's got to be there. Look at that, bang on. Right, so all I did was randomly put the circles in with a pencil, so I had them in the right place, yeah. And then as I was colouring in the girl, I was adding the bubbles as well, right, or the balloons or whatever you fancy. Now, what I'm going to do is today, what we're going to do is take the little one. See, having said that, when you look at these two, you could so easily, you see what I'm getting at. Even the large one, you could put a couple of bubbles behind her in the same colour, and they just look so pretty. Okay, they're not finished, they're the backdrop. They're the backdrop. I'm going to show you a little sample, tiny little sample of one of these circles. I've cut it out, and you can see how all of a sudden our whimsy, hearty, dainty, naive work, you know, just with those scribbles and a couple of dots and a leaf, that's that art that we're always trying to do. We don't know how to get there, isn't it? So this may appeal to some of you, and it may not appeal to others. It really appeals to me. I love this kind of art, especially when you do loads of it. The thing that I'm figuring out, though, is that it takes a lot of prep. Even though it looks as if it's just been like scribbled and cash, right? There's nothing scribbled and cash about it. You have to air draw. You have to. For me, if I want to get it right, I have to practice on a piece of paper before I make it look cash. You know, because then I know it'll be what I want it to be. But it's entirely up to you. You know, it's 6 of one and a half dozen of the other. Thing is, though, this is what this is where we're headed next week. Is these lovely little arty pieces, right? I've got ideas. Now, have I still got your attention, or have you nodded off? What we're going to do now is the hearts. Now, let's have a look at the hearts. They're exactly the same as what we did. They're exactly the same, different colourway. Look. See? So it's the same, just different colours in the box. Nice, isn't it? So, and where did I find the hearts? Well, I found the hearts in the heart stencil. But again, see, some of you might be really good at drawing hearts. And some of you might want really, really woo art, you know, not all the same hearts. Perfect, you know. But a lot of us just want to get on with the job. So what we could do now, before we do the colouring, let's do the pencil work, shall we? Now, you can draw the hearts in freehand, or you can take the stencil. And then once we've done that, then it'll be easy. Once we've done this, it'll be back to colouring again, okay? Oh, excuse me. So we're going to start, right, just with a little... Oh, I've got the wrong glasses on. I thought, blimey, I can't say a thing. That's better. Right, so I've got my HB pencil, and then all I'm going to do is just start really lightly putting in my hearts. And let me come in a bit tighter for you. All right, here we go. Is this okay? And what we're going to do is, see, we've got loads of different size ones as well, which I like, right? So we can change the angle as well. So they're not all looking, you know, they're not all standing up straight like on the stencil. So you take the stencil, you look at the different sizes, and then you just start to add your hearts in like this. So you've got loads of different sizes here. It's quite cool. So I'm going to go with a bit bigger one here. Let's have a look. If that one's facing that way, maybe this one I'll put it there like that. I'm going to go a little bit larger as I come to the bottom right hand corner, like so. I think one of the things that I've figured out is that it's worth stopping and looking. I mean, this is going to be different to the other one. Straight away it is different. But I want to, where's the great big heart? I think I'll put a big heart there, like that. Yeah? Off the page. So we'll do our shapes first. There we go. See, we could put a little tiny one in there. That'd be nice. Do a straight one like that. There. It's better to look and decide before you commit what you think. Take your time. It does make a difference, you know. You can put another one. I think that size there would be nice. There. And relax. So we're going to do, let's have a look. Let's do a couple above her head. And I think what we'll do up here, let's do one there like that. Right. In there. And it's that, you know what we were doing the last time, where with that doodle, when we did the little girl here, there came a point where you didn't know what was Marina's artwork and what was our artwork. It kind of, it fused, didn't it? And in the same way, when you look here, once we've put a little thin, those black arty lines that I was just showing you, where have I lost my little bit that I was going to show you? Can't find it now. Oh, here it is. There we go. Now, I'm not saying we're going to put leaves in. I'm not saying that at all. Quite the opposite. I'm going to put more hearts and, you know, love and lovely words. Wouldn't that be super, right? Like, do you remember when we were kids? Well, we still can get them. The love heart sweets. Oh, do you remember? They were lovely. Pardon the pun. But what I mean is, right, that once we've done a little really faint doodle with the micron pen around the outside of this, the hearts, and a bit of a scribble, then it will all be integrated. It will all be part and parcel of the same piece. Isn't that pretty then? And then we can decide what we want to do, whether we want to do dots or dashes or hearts or words, or whether we want to use the dry pencils in the same colour. We don't have to always, you know, we've got the background now. You see, there's so many options. But keep your eye on this idea, because I like this. I like this. There's a lot of mileage in that. Right, back to the hearts. Do you like this kind of thing? See, I do. I love this sort of art. And you know, a lot of people may look at the Marina Fedotova and think, it's too cutesy for me, it's too babyish, or it's, you know, it's not. And I think, yeah, but it's what you do with it. It's completely a question of what you do with it. I can make this look really grungy if I want, you know, can't you? Let's do a couple more hearts. See, let's have a look. So step away and decide. See, so they're getting bigger at the front, and then as they go back, they're getting a bit smaller. I feel I need to put a couple here, like there, be nice. What size? Sort of medium size, eh? Not too big, but not too small. Is that the same size as that one? It's a bit smaller. You get where I'm coming from, don't you? It's a question of, see if this is going to work. Yeah, that's it. And then that gives us room to put another, because every heart is an opportunity to add a little flash of colour, which brings it all together again. See? I'm thinking the little rinky dink. Let's do that one there. That'd be nice. Yeah. I mean, come on, crafters, you also know if you wanted to, you could put this down, you could take your brushes, bish bosh bish, 2 minutes, background sorted. But you don't get the same feel, do you? You know what I'm talking about. But that's what these are great for, because they're quite robust. They work well in that regard as well. So, you know, they've got lots of mileage. There's a lot of mileage in these. I'm going to pop a little tiny one. Oh, look, I feel like I want to put a little one in there. Just there, like that. Right, so now we've got, yeah, pretty. And then there's this little voice in my head saying, stop, stop. And there's another little voice in my head going, don't. One more. That's the same as chocolate, you see, for me. Right, that's it. We can always add some later, can't we? Right, so now we've got our shapes. You could have done circles, you could do hearts, you could do diamonds, you could do anything, random. Okay, so we've got our shapes now. So we put our stencil away. We're going to use these lots. Yeah, I've never actually used stencils in this way before, like as a template, but it just occurred to me that it just is so easy when you've got the shape in front of you. Okay, so now, next thing, we need our pencils. So watercolor pencils, yeah? Let's have a look. I'm going to use my pergoliners. Is that all right? You got them? Have you got them yet? You can use any watercolour pencils. Honestly, any watercolour pencils. I use these because we own the company. Right? So you can see, again, we've got the B pencils up this end. They're the ones with the white writing on. B for blending, so they're like your polychromos. And it was interesting because on Monday I scribbled inadvertently. I took one of the white ones and I scribbled it on here. And do you know what I needed to do to get rid of it? Which is, yeah, so it's all logical what we do, because when you get the mix mats that I'm using, there's an oil one as well. And the only way that I could clean the the B pencil when I went on there and I couldn't get it off with water, what got rid of it was the Dorso oil. Yeah, that got rid of it like that, because it's an oil-based pencil, so you add oil to it and it frees it up. So that's why when you get your mix mats, you've got the oil mat as well. One's for the oil pencils and one's for the water pencils. They're the same mat, right? It's just so that you know what you're working with when you're working, okay? And it's got a bit of purchase. It's got like a bit of tread on it, so that you can scratch off pigment. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's have a look. This time I wanted to go with a different colourway. I thought this was a really pretty colourway. And again, it's just using a couple of pencils in the set. Is this all right, guys? Yeah? Yeah, I think so. Right, so the colours that I'm going to use, let's have a look. I've got a bit of copy paper to show you, just so that you know as well. Let me get my, where are they? Right, that one. This is A2, which is like a kind of a burgundy, Okay, let's get this right. So I've got A2, that's the burgundy one. That's this dark one, all right? Then I've got the light one. So the light one is like this pinky, A10, and it's like a fleshy colour. Well, depends where you come from. My fleshy colour, there you go. Right, so we got that one. When you mix these, you get different variations. Okay, so that's cool, very cool. Right, now let's have a look at this lovely blue lilac-y coloured one. Now again, this is A4. So when we do that, is that right? Yeah, A4. Looks like a really nice indigo blue. Okay, so that one is this when you water it down. Having said that though, look, thing about watercolour brushes, watercolour pencils, sorry, you can use them as dry pencils too. You don't have to add water. The advantage of them is that you can. Now, so the next one, we've got these yellows and browns, which is sort of the colour that, let's face it, these are the colours that you tend to not go to. It's the same as the grey ones in the polychromos. So these two, they almost look the same, but they're not. So we've got 18 and 19. Now let's look at 18, right? 18's sort of a ochre, like mustardy colour. See? That's quite nice. And then I've got 19, which is yellower. See? See the difference when you concentrated? So that's quite a good colour comment. When you look at the two, you think, well, where's the difference? But there is a difference. Big difference when you use them. Now, let's have a look. I've got a brown here, brine, A17. So I'm going to put a little bit of brown down. Put a bit of brown down. And this one, when you tone it in with these ones, you get these lovely, look, you get these effects, which is very pretty too. Can you see that all right? Yeah. I mean, one thing that you need to know, I'm no expert. I'm no expert on this stuff. I haven't got an art degree. I got an O level. And then I only got a B because I set fire to my final piece. But what I have got is many, many years of trying things out and experimenting. And I've got an inquiring mind. So, you know, but I'm no expert. And I think what I'm figuring out is that I'm learning as I'm figuring things out, which is really cool, you know. I know how to use a colouring pencil though. I do know that. Right, so, and so do you. So there's your brown. We're going to use that colour. And then I've got an orange. Right, I'm going to put that one there. That's quite nice. What one's that? A11. And then there's an A8, which is like a fuchsia. And I went to use it and then changed my mind, but I'm going to put it up there anyway, just so you know. So this is the sort of colour palette that we're going for. This is where you get this beautiful colourway, as opposed to these ones, which was a different. These were the blue, the yellow, and do you remember we just used blue and yellow, didn't we? We really we went up the other end. Well, no, same end, just different pencils. Right, so ready to go. We're going to start with the hearts and then we'll fill our palette. This won't take long. It took longer to explain it. So we're going to take our mix mat and we've got our water brushes. I cleaned mine up a little bit and I've got mine ready to go. I've got like one for every colour. These are great. Do you know what was really interesting? Did you see Paul yesterday in the SHAC? He was talking about using these dry with the Perga colours. What a good idea! I suppose because parchment is so glossy, isn't it? It's got a real nice finish to it, satin finish. So these particular pens, they lend themselves beautifully to just distributing that without water, which is really clever. Well done, Paul. We're using them wet. So I'm going to start with this lovely dark burgundy cerise colour. So we'll just, it looks brown, but it isn't. So we'll just add a bit of pigment to our mix mat. There you go. And I'm, rather than crunching the top, I'm going to use it in this way so that I'm making, not a point, but there you go. So we've got that colour first, and I think I'll add the colours to the mix mat as I go. Now the next thing, just a couple of little tricks when you're working with watercolour, okay? Have you got like a paper towel like this? So what I did was, like you could take a loo roll. Look, I could use this ad infinitum, right? But it's just a thought I had, because I had an empty one of these. And so I put a glue runner like that up there, and then I took a piece of the industrial strength from the wholesalers, right? So rather than working with something that's the size of a car tyre, okay, I took a couple of sheets of this, I attached it to that, I roll it round this, and then I'm good to go until this is absolutely ready to be slung. Yeah, but it's great for it's just great for working with when you want to just take off the excess water. Okay, so that's what we're going to use, is that, and now we're good to go, and a bit of copy paper. Right, so the first thing, we'll just squeeze that water there, and then we're just going to release some of the pigment. Here we go. So we started this last Monday, so you're going to be a dab hand at this now. See, now if I go into my I just want to get rid, I want to check it first, see, so I want to check it on a bit of copy paper. Right, I want it to be quite watery. Here we go. See? And I think I'll go to this large, there we go, and then in we go, and we'll just add a bit of colour. And don't forget, we're going to be, you don't have to be exact, just get that colour down like that. Go in a bit more. Okay. Now you've got choices. If you do this and you think, oh, it's too uniform, it's all one big solid block of pink, right? If that's the case, just blot it, right? Just blot it, go in with some water, and you can lift it off again. See, just lift it off. And then go in with some darker colour around the edge, because you've given yourself a sort of a glaze. And now we'll just go in and add a little bit of a patch of pink. See? Now if you don't want that line, if you go quick, get a bit of water again, and then you can break that line away, see? Get a stain. That's what we're after, is that kind of stain, isn't it? That look. So we've done that one. They don't all take as long as that. One of the other things that I wanted to flag up, right, is if you leave it like this and then you let it just air dry, it will dry lighter, yeah? But if you heat it, it sets at the colour that you've got it on the page. I'll show you in a moment. It was quite impressive when I figured this one out. I'll show you in a minute. Let's do a couple of these. We've got to decide which hearts we're going to do this colour. I think I'm going to do this one up here, this pink. This is the darker pink, believe it or not. So we'll just put that one in like that. Get a bit of darker colour going, see, just add a bit of pigment, like that. That'll do. Right, I'm going to do that one. I'll just drop a bit of that blue, that lovely colour in there. What colour am I using there? Just in case you want to know, A2. A2 runs from Dover all the way up to London. It's a Roman road, straight as a die, and it is congested. There you go. You didn't know that, did you? Right, that'll do. Okay, so we've got that one, and that one. Now, let's have a look for a little bit of balance. What do you think? This one down here, I would say. Right, get a bit more of that loose colour, right? So you've got different grades here. Look, you've got the really light wash, if you wanted to do a glaze first. You've got a darker, and then you've got the real dark up the top. If you just run your paintbrush through there, that'll be dark as well. And then you've got your thing there just to get the excess off, so you can see what you're doing. Right, there you go. In you go. Got a glaze. Then I'll go in again, add a bit more depth. turn your work. Right, add a bit more depth maybe. There you go. See, it bleeds. We like it when it bleeds. Right, there. Now let's just have a look at that one there with it's got a bit of a patch on it. Now if I take a heat gun or a hairdryer and I add a bit of heat to it, it will set just like that. Doesn't take long either. See? It doesn't dry lighter, it seems to hold the stain. There we go. There. Interesting. And also when you're working with different colours, it's good to be able to speed dry, you know? Sometimes you want to speed dry. Right, so we've got that colour, that colour, that colour. I'm going to do another little pink one there. There you go. Right, easy. See, now we'll leave the colour up here because we're going to use that to do a dress or a wings or whatever we choose to do. Yeah? So we've got that colour down. Now we've done that one. Let's have a look. I'm just going to clean this off a little bit because I'm going to use it for the same. Now I'm going into that fleshy pinky colour, the real light one. Let's go with that real light colour. See if we can catch a difference. So I'm going to come in on that one. You enjoying this? Have a look. Get a bit of that fleshy colour going. Right, a bit more of that pink. Right, this is a different kind of colour now. This is a different pink. I'm going to go in here with this one. It's really light and you think it's not, it doesn't show, but it does make a difference. Look, here we go. Let's just get that colour in there. Just give it a chance. Might need a couple of layers on this. So arty. So arty. I'm going to go, I think, a nice pink one up there. You see, the other thing is that you can, of course, you can add hearts, can't you? You can add hearts. And you can add shadow and you can add all sorts. Do what you like. 1, 2. Got a third one. I'm going to keep that one for the big lilac one. I'm thinking I might, there we go. What about that one up there? Got 1, 2. That one there. That one's going to be a little pink one. That'll do. Right. Okay. Nice. Relax. How are you feeling? Cool, I'm ready for this to be over. I bet I'm not the only one either. It's certainly been a challenge, hasn't it? And it still is a challenge. And the longer it is taking, the more patience I think we have to exercise, eh? Don't you agree? Yeah. There we are. Thank God for crafting and thank God for pottery and thank God for the SHAC. That's all I can say. You know? Just to keep you sane while you're being sensible. See the difference between the pinks? You wouldn't think, would you, when you look at the pink, it's almost non-existent. Now, we've done that one. Now let's go to the bluey, lilac-y, indigo-y colour. So we're coming down again on our mat. I'm deliberately sort of keeping it tight so that you can see what I'm doing. Right, now we're going to go with this. I think this is the right one. What number's this? A4. A4, where's that? That's further up the country, isn't it? Who lives near the A4? Right, so I'm going with this little fella. Oh, is it empty or did I fill it up? I think this one might be empty. Let's have a look. Oh, I've got a little bit of water in there. Right, okay. Is this the right colour? Yeah, this would be nice. So we've got some Got some nice pigment there. Right, let's have a look. Add a bit more water, because I'm going to go with that big heart down the bottom, so I want a bit of a glaze on that one. Yeah, this would be nice. Right, here we go. So we'll just bring that in and then we'll sweep it round and then push it down like that. And then we'll do the same on that side just to get a lovely base colour down. That'll do. There you go, that's not too tricky, is it? Right, and then I'll get a bit more of that darker colour. See, I like these brushes because so you can get such good detail on them. Right, that'll do. Bit of a stain, hey? Do you want a bit of a stain, Barbara? Yes, you do. Yes, there we are. If you're still waiting for an order, I do apologise. They have been going at work like the clappers. And I've heard, I have it on good authority, that most of the orders, in fact, the lion share of the orders will be gone by Friday. Most of them have already gone, but whatever we've still got left to fill, because we had to make to send, they will have left the building by Friday. I think there's still a handful of bits and pieces that we've got to make. But Jason and Steve are on it. And Leanne, she's making stencils, you know. We had our meeting yesterday, our Zoom meeting, to decide whether we wanted to repeat this exercise. Doing a blanket sale, you know. And the general consensus, there were 10 of us, I think, in the meeting. And in the end, when we looked at it, you know, despite all I won't call it abuse, but we did get some stick for being so slow. We decided that we'll go again. We'll go again in July for the members sale. But maybe our lovely customers will, you know, we'll just have to make it really clear that it doesn't happen overnight with these blanket sales, you know. Yeah, we had a long meeting about it. It was on the cards that we don't do it again because Janine and Grace got so much flack, you know, and they don't need that stick. So, but we said we'll do it again. We'll do it again. Give it another go. Yeah. Now, let's have a look. I've got a little one there. See, I'm trying to get the balance on the colours as well. There we are. See, I'm comfortable with this stuff because it's just, put a little bit of depth in there, look. I'm comfortable with this because it's just easy. It's just easy colouring. It's very controlled, isn't it? Right, let me move that around a bit so it's not too dark. Now, if I want to keep that dark, then I'm going to use a heat gun on it. Watch, this is so interesting. If I blot it, then I'm going to lose all that depth. But it takes seconds to dry it, to set it as well. You know, it was like, remember I told you about my old boyfriend from many, many moons ago, the really talented artist. And I tell you what, I'm slowly, I'm getting there, Walter, if you're watching. Look, I've got the loo roll and the hairdryer, I call it a hairdryer, right? The only thing that's missing is the bottle of wine. Don't do that stuff. Did too much of that before. Call that, I won't be colouring this in if I carried on with that. Now, let's have a look. I'm going to do one more of those lovely little, here we are. Yeah, that's one of the things that I am grateful for, is that I don't drink. I think that this lockdown, it hasn't been good for people who have a propensity for alcohol. I don't think it's done them any favours, you know. From lots of different places, lots of different angles. So I'm very glad that I don't drink anymore. I won't say that I never drank. That would be really unreal. I partied. I was a party animal. I like to dance. But the thing is, there comes a point where the old body says, you know what, enough. Or in my case, the head said, Barbara, this is not doing you any good. You know, the thing about alcohol is it is a downer, it is a depressant, you know. So if you drink because, a lot of people don't even know that. They think, oh, I deserve a drink. It's wine o'clock and all that cobblers, you know. And then they wonder why they're so miserable. It's like, well, you're pouring a downer down your throat. What do you think? Makes you miserable if you drink enough of it. So, you know, there's enough to get low about without adding alcohol into your system, you know. And the thing about it as well is, right, maybe I'm saying too much here, but you know what? I'm saying it anyway. Thing about alcohol is that if you drink too much, the day after, when you've got like the proverbial hangover, right, that's not the day that you've got to look out for. The day to be careful is the day after the day that you had the party. So if you think about it, right, say, I just remember this from the good old days. It was the day after the party I used to get really low, like really despondent, you know, so I'd go out partying, drinking, dancing. Then the day after, you just have a built-in hangover, like, what happened there? And then the day after that was the day when I'd get all despondent. And it's not just me, that's a fact. It's the day after that it starts to mess with your head. So if you're in a perpetual loop, right? If you're in a perpetual loop with booze, then what happens is, let me see, what colour should we put up here? What colour would go up there, do you think? A nice pink? Should we try? I've sort of painted myself into a corner here. I think I'm going to go, I've got two here, haven't I? Well, we could always answer. Oh, I know what I haven't done yet. Oh, Barbara. What about the yellowy one? There you go. Let's do the yellowy one. The browny yellowy one. There we are. We're going for this one now. Yeah. What was I saying about booze? I can't remember. That's another thing. It destroys your brain cells. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So here we are. If you, for example, if you drink a lot or you like a drink and then but you have to go to work or you have to go out or you have to do this, it kind of gives you a discipline, doesn't it? Now, here we are in lockdown, not allowed to leave the house, not allowed to drive. Did you hear that last year? You got to wonder. They said that they've had less drunken driving offences. It's like, really? Did you pay someone to tell you that? There were less DUIs, right, in 2020 than in the year before. And it's like, now, I wonder why that is. You know, you do have to ask yourself, do they actually get paid, these analysts? Because if they do, I want that job. Good grief. You're not allowed out the house, you're not allowed to drive, and then they pretend that it's news that people aren't getting stopped under the influence. Oh, help me out. So the thing is, though, and that's the point, so we're in the house, we're trapped, if you like, we're not allowed to leave, we're not allowed to work, a lot of people are not allowed to work. See, that was what was missing. And then we'll do the star for balance. Not allowed to work, not allowed to leave the house, not allowed to go out. Well, I might as well just drink. And I think that we've got a bit of an issue now, because that's exactly what's been happening, friends. I'm not saying with us lot, I'm not saying that that's what's been going on here, but you've got to be careful with that stuff because it creeps up on you, you know. It creeps up on you. You'd hate to get all the way through this pandemic and then end up with a shot liver. I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh because that is a real issue, you know. I mean, at the moment, everybody's worried about the vaccinations. You watch. And an analyst in a couple of years' time will say, there's a 55-year waiting list for a liver transplant. Really? Well, surprise! Right, now we're going to colour her in before I get into trouble. Yeah. So if you are drinking too much, or if you think that you might be, then you probably are, okay? That's the way to look at it. If you think you've got a drink problem, or you think that you might be hitting the bottle a bit too regularly and you're getting a little bit too, you're feeling a little bit too rough in the mornings, too regularly, and you think to yourself, am I drinking too much? Then the minute you ask yourself that, chances are you are, okay? Just trust me on that. Chances you are. It's expensive. I've never, you know, it's easy for me to say because now I don't drink and I haven't drunk for, blimey, when was the last time I had a drink? 2001. Yeah, 2001. That's a long time, 19 years, nearly 20 years now, right? So that, you read between the lines, that should tell you a story. Okay, that means that in 2001, I was obviously on the case. Yeah, clearly 2001 was a good year. Not good. You understand? And I think I feel qualified to say that alcohol, right, in my life, and I can only speak for myself, but it never made any situation better. There was never a situation in my life that was improved by drinking. Quite the contrary. You know, quite the contrary. And that shit creeps up on you. You know? And when you look back now, and I wasn't going to talk about this, it just occurred to me, and I think sometimes I have to go with my instinct on this stuff, you know. You know, I look back and I think it creeps up on you. And all the time you've got a house, and you know you haven't lost your license, and you haven't. Right, hang on a minute. What are we on now? Let's do the dress. Right, we're going to go back into our colours here that we've still got on the thing. Come on, we've got plenty of time. Still got 10 minutes. And this is the trap. This is the functioning drinking trap, because you think to yourself, well, I haven't got a drink problem. How could you say I've got a drink problem? I haven't lost my license. Well, you haven't been able to drive for a year, so that kicks that argument into touch. Let's see what else. Oh, you haven't lost your children. You know, the kids are fine. I've got a house, the mortgage is paid. You know, I've paid for the sofas. Got a lovely little garden. Everything's got money in the bank, got pension, right? Trust me. These are what's called trappings, because all the time you think, this is how it works, you see. You think, well, it can't be that bad. How you know, because we think of people, alcoholics or drinkers, we think of them as people who are homeless or who are jobless or who have hit the skids. You know, that's our false impression. Trust me, it's not right. It's a false friend as well, because it lures you. You know, it gives you a false sense of security. You think you're fine. Look, isn't this pretty? Let's get a bit darker. You think it's fine because it must be. I've got a job, got a house, got a car, got kids. Nobody knows that I drink too much and I have a hangover. Nobody ever says anything to me. And all the time that's the case, you you're not pushed, are you? You're not pushed to look at it. Trouble is now, we've all been at home. I think a lot of people have crossed the line. But that doesn't mean it's too late. It just means you've got to look at it and say, well, hang on a minute. Is it actually helping me, this drinking? Because all I know is it makes you fat. You get overweight. It messes with your head. Makes you feel low and you don't know why. Irritable, restless, discontent. You know, there, doesn't that look pretty? Right, now we're going to do the tights, her socks, her little sexy socks. Right, let's do a bit more blue. Let's get a bit more blue going. And we'll let the dress dry and then we'll put another layer down. And let's do her socks now. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to preach about drinking. But I do know, I just know that there is an issue. You know, just make sure it's not you. Okay? Just make sure it's not you. And it's expensive as well. It's like smoking. I don't know who can afford it. I've buried a few friends because of alcohol, so I guess that's why I feel quite strongly about it, and I don't drink, you know, because the trouble is it's so socially acceptable, isn't it? Everybody thinks, well, it's not illegal, it's not a Class A drug, is it? Well, you know what? It has the same effect. That's the problem. That's the consequences, you know. That's the trouble, isn't it? And I know a lot of you are listening and going, yep, she got that right. Right, see now, have a look at this. So we're going to get our little... See, this is the brilliant part of these brushes, because they're so tight. Look how that gets in there. Boom. Now, this is where I'm going to use my hairdryer to set that depth of colour, or my heat gun. And it takes seconds. But what's brilliant is it doesn't change the colour. It doesn't get lighter at all. It stays exactly at that depth. Doesn't this look pretty? You can't believe that we're drawing a whimsy poppet and talking about alcohol. But there you go. That's what happens when you're on your own for nearly a year. Right, have a look up close. See, it's getting close, and you can see how detailed you can get. Nice. And while I've got some of that depth on that pen, I think I've still got some on there. Yeah, I have. I'm going to run that down that edge there just to get a little shadow underneath her skirt. Look at that. Oh, this is so lovely to do. Little shadow under there. Love it, love it, love it. Let's get a little bit of the depth in the pleats. Nice, eh? And this is a smaller one, so she's a little bit more difficult to do. Now, let's have a look. We're going to go with the pink next. So I'm going to take that pink, this pink here, the fleshy pink as a base. There you go. And then we'll just run just a little flash like a glaze. It's that light colour. See? The translucency of the wings. Let's get that down. Tell you what I was going to say as well. It occurred to me, and I want to run it by you. See what you think of this. Because when I went to start working, let me show you something. When I went to start working on this little piece here, right? Straight away, I went for my stash. I'm going to show you something. This is my stash. And because this, right, let me just put my little poppet to one side because I want to offer up a service. Right. Now, this, if you take, sorry, Paul, I haven't even told you about this. You take a piece of the stencil card, right, that we're using now, because it's brilliant for watercolor, for stamping. We agree that this is really good gear. What I find often, especially when I'm doing little arty like notelets, or you want the front bit, so I'm forever chopping this up. Do you know what I mean? So what I do when I go like to the NEC, or when we go, I get the girls, because we've got big electric, big guillotines, you see. So I say to Lisa or to Dave or whoever's near the guillotine, do us a favour, chop up the stencil card to 3.5 by 3.5. In other words, one of those equals 4 of those. Yeah. And then I said, please do us a favour and give me a stack of these, because that's what I'm going to use for my jelly plates, for my little baby jelly plates, for my toppers, for my art, for just little cards. This is what I use a lot. And I thought, if we've got the facility to take this and cut it into this, but the trouble is you don't need, there's 50 of these in a pack, say you only really 100 of these would be a really good set. 100 of these sitting on your side is dynamite. I'm telling you, because I know it, because I use it all the time. So I think what I'm going to do, I think you'll agree with me, I'm going to offer this up. So the stencil card, I'll talk to the guys at work and we'll get this loaded this afternoon, and we'll offer up 100 pieces. So that would be the equivalent, see, that's the thing, it's not going to cost much, because it's the equivalent of 25 sheets of this. So it's half the price of the stencil card when you buy it in big like this. I think you'll find it's invaluable. I use these little pieces all the time when I'm making cards. They're just the right size, 3.5 by 3.5. And the other thing is, when you're making your coasters, right, you know, the Pergamano coasters, these sit in the Pergamano coaster like a treat. That's the size you want. So 3.5 by 3.5 sits in there like a dream. Therefore, I'm going to make that available. Yeah, because it's great for samplers, for cards. We'll get 100 of them and we'll get them sent out. Okay, I think it's a good idea. I just know if I use it all the time, then you will find it really useful too. And not everybody has got a guillotine or can cut like that, you know. So safer, isn't it? Safer. Now let's have a look where we finished off. And then you could get to this place. So all you need to do is just finish colouring her in, right? So all I've done is added a little bit more depth on here. I think I might even add a little bit more, okay? And then on Friday, when we get together, bring them both. Bring them both. And bring a couple of these, if you've made a couple of these, right, bring these as well, because these will be good practice ones. And then we're going to use these as well, because when you chop this up, it's fabulous, right? But we could start this size too. And we'll start making little toppers. That's what they're called, toppers. We'll make little card toppers, greeting card toppers, right? And we'll practice, because otherwise, every time you go to practice, you grab a whole sheet, right? It's like, no, grab that, grab a little tester, you know, much more sensible. Anyway, and it's the same thing, just half the amount and quarter the size. So there you go. That's what we're going to do. I'll see you on Friday at 10 o'clock again. And what you do need on Friday, we're going to start using, bring the pencils and you know, just in case you want to add a little bit more of a flourish of colour. But what we will use is the Micron pens and the Posca pens, the big black, the white ones. See, the white ones look brilliant if on the darker colour. So we could have a little play with that as well. And then this whole preppy thing that we're doing with the Poppets is going to be dynamite next week when we get back on the bus. Okay? So thank you for your company. I hope that you enjoyed that. Be safe. I shall see you on Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning, drink tea, drink lots of water, enjoy the garden if you've got a garden, and yeah, just be safe and be sensible, and get with your hands. It always helps. Lots of love, Paul. Thanks for your help. See you on the other side.